Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Yoyo. My name is T. Here we are again looking at another yo-yo I received recently. This one has been a lot of fun. It was sort of one that I never even would have expected to have on my radar, but the more I've been playing with it, the more I've been enjoying it, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it too. Today we're going to be looking at the AceYo Hypocrisy Max L. So does this yo-yo fail to meet its expectations, or is this yo-yo going to be a hypocritical success? That doesn't even make sense. Here we are looking at the Hypocrisy Max L. So let's start with the shape. You can see here it's quite a narrow H. It's soft and rounded off. From the center here, it's a very nice little arch up to the rim. Then there's a cut before the rim. Then it's got these stainless steel rims here. This is a bimetal yo-yo, but one interesting thing about the shape of this yo-yo is that while I would consider it sort of a modified OH thing, look at the stainless steel rims. Those are actually segmented as well. It's just got this really interesting hand feel because of these little cut rims here. In the cup here, you go down into this bowl. You've got this button in the center where the axle would go through. And then you've got this really glorious glossy surface in here. So this body part is matte. The inside here is glossy. But just look at this engraving. This is incredible. I've seen similar engravings to this on the other yo-yos in AceYo's collection. I have to say these engravings are simply beautiful. It's sort of this like flower leaf plant pattern, but the way it's engraved is really interesting. It doesn't seem to get in the way too much, like at least visually. It doesn't have like that really scratchy feel to it. In fact, you can barely feel this thing, which is kind of crazy. I don't know how they did this engraving, but I'm absolutely in love with it 100%. The material is 6061 on the body, and then the rims, as I mentioned, are stainless steel. Very nice polished and gold, very cool color here. The feel is very round, very comfortable. It is a bit on the narrow side, so it fits into your hand quite well. And actually, I mentioned this in the unboxing, but this reminds me quite a bit of the MKT from Duncan. It's quite a similar shape. I think the MKT is a little bit more rounded off. This one has a little bit more straight shot to the rim, but once you get to the rim, it's got these little segments like I mentioned. But it is really comfortable. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of narrow yo-yos, and this isn't the most narrow. It has a decent width to it. But at the same time, because of these huge sides and these huge rims, it kind of gives you the illusion that it is narrow. So it's an interesting feel. The look is extremely flashy. I'm not sure I have any yo-yo in my collection that is as flashy as the Hypocrisy Max L right now. You've got this really nice pink. You've got the gold rims, which just explode. You've got this extremely shiny and glossy cup in here, which, I mean, attracts the eye immediately. And even if it wasn't for that gloss, you've got this beautiful engraving. The look of this thing just cannot be understated. It's simply a fantastic looking yo-yo. So as for the history of the Hypocrisy Max L, I'm never going to get used to saying that name. So I got this from AceYo as part of a little set of yo-yos they sent me to take a look at. You can go back and watch my unboxing if you'd like to see the other two. I'll have videos coming out on the AceYo Gravitation 2 and the Merkur at some point. But as I always say, Yoyo is not a business. I don't do this for money. I do it for passion, just for fun. So it's really nice when people think of me and send me stuff to try out. But this is based on, I believe, the Hypocrisy, which is another yo-yo in the AceYo line. I didn't have any experience with any other yo-yos from AceYo except the Gravitation 1, which I've already taken a look at on Yoyo before. You can take a look at that if you'd like. But I've kind of seen a few pictures of the Hypocrisy, and I don't think the original Hypocrisy is a bimetal. However, the Max L is. So I'm not sure if there's like a regular Hypocrisy Max, or if there's an S version or an M version, or if there's just the regular Hypocrisy and then the Max L. So you'll have to kind of do your own research on that. AceYo is not a company that's in a lot of stores. You have to contact them directly, or you can go on like Taobao, maybe AliExpress. In any case, this is the bimetal version. The Hypocrisy Max L is fantastic on a throw. This is one of those yo-yos that a lot of the time when you throw it, you get a smooth throw right off the bat. I think it's just the way it's shaped, the way it holds in the hand. It's really nice on a throw. Usually you don't find yourself having to smooth it out too much, even when you have like a messy throw like mine. It has a really nice soft feel in the hand and on the catch and on the string. And I think a lot of that is because of the smoothness of the yo-yo, not only when you're holding it in your hand, but actually this yo-yo is extremely smooth, especially for a bimetal, which really blew me away. All of the ones I got from AceYo are really smooth. This one's no exception, but I'm always surprised to find a bimetal that is as smooth as a lot of monometals can get. When I first got this, I thought it played very deliberately. I thought it played a little bit more slowly, but the more I play with it, I'm finding that it's actually capable of going pretty fast if you push it. Which is nice because when you look at this thing, it doesn't really look like a performance beast, but once you kind of get used to the way it handles and you get used to the way it feels, you can kind of push it a little bit farther than you'd expect. Another thing I mentioned in the unboxing is I thought it played similarly to the Wolfgang. Now I'm not as sure. Like the Wolfgang plays with a lot more width, it feels a lot bigger in the hand, and this definitely feels more compact. Because of the shape, because you have these pretty big rims on here and they're attached very solidly, you can see they go all the way out to the edge there. This has a really nice stability to it. Spin time, I'm not sure about. When I first got it, it wasn't spinning as long as I expected. The more I'm playing with it, the longer it's spinning, so I'm sure it's just like a lot of oil in the bearing that I just need to work out, because it is also very quiet and very smooth as well. I'm sure the amount of spin is going to improve over time. The grinds on this are really nice. Now the shape itself doesn't lend itself to finger grinds perfectly well, but the material itself actually does let you grind for longer than you'd expect. So as long as you can get your finger in there and maintain plane by yourself, that's actually pretty good at finger grinds. Finger spins are not really that easy because of this big button in the center, but you can land it on the edge here. It will spin around a little while, like I said. You're not really going to feel this engraving much at all unless you're putting your nail directly on it. But I find, like, I have pretty short nails and I don't have a problem with this. It doesn't have that nail on a chalkboard feel. You can feel it just a bit on your nail when it's spinning, but it's not like a terrible feeling like one of those really, like a really thick engraving or anything like that. Like, you can't even hear that, right? All you're hearing is my nail like on the material. You can't really hear it scratching the engraving at all, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure how they did this. One thing I should mention is the response is pretty good, but I do recommend you put a thicker string on here. This is a thicker wound string from Zipline, and I find that that works a lot better. The thinner strings are fine, but they tend to slip through the response a little bit more, but I find a thicker string works a lot better with the binds that I do and the binds that I like to perform. So it's not really a thing about the response. I feel like if you bind normally, that's fine, but I like to do a little bit more flashy binds, and I feel like a thicker string helps with that. As for pros and cons of the AceYo Hypocrisy Max L, bleh, that name is so long. It's beautiful. Look at this thing, this bright pink and the gold rims and this glorious engraving on the inside. There are a lot of other colors and styles of this, but I'm super glad I got a chance to play with this one because it's just flashy to the max. But I've never seen another yo-yo that looks quite like this. I know there's a lot of yo-yos that do pretty cool engravings. Ooh, it just got really windy. I know a lot of other yo-yos play with engravings and stuff like this and have these really flashy looks to them, but I've never seen anything that looks quite like this with the button and the engraving inside and the really cool segmented stainless steel rims. It's just a very unique looking yo-yo. It's really solid, like I mentioned. Similar when I thought at first to the Wolfgang, but the more I'm playing it, the more I feel like it's just a solid, nice little bimetal that doesn't play quite as wide as the Wolfgang. It's butter smooth. Like I mentioned, bimetals usually don't come this smooth, and I was really happy to find that not only does it throw smooth, but once you smooth it out with a nail, this thing is butter. As I mentioned before, I thought at first that it played a little bit deliberately. I even thought it might have played with a little bit of heaviness, but the more I'm playing with it, the more I'm finding that you can push it and get it to play a little bit more speedy. It does seem to kind of like give you a lot of time in the air when you're bringing it around to catch and stuff like that, but at the same time, actually pushing it did make it go faster. It didn't go out of control or anything like that. It just has a very high quality feeling, which I wasn't expecting because I just don't know what to expect with some of the smaller brands that don't get as much news as, you know, your Yo-Yo Factories and your CLYWs and stuff. So it's always really nice surprise to get yo-yos from more independent companies that really feel super high quality. I just feel like there's a lot of potential in this yo-yo that I haven't reached yet. Like, it can do a lot and it's capable of a lot more than I'm able to do with it right now. As for cons, I think this is a little bit pricey. It's kind of getting up there. It's still not a fully priced, fully expensive bimetal. I think it's like right around 70 or 80, maybe $90, something like that. So it's not the most expensive bimetal on the market. It sometimes can scare people a little bit when they're picking up a yo-yo from a brand they may not know as well. Like AceYo, some people know, but not a lot of people are aware of them. And so sometimes it can be a little bit tricky for people to spend money on a brand they're not 100% sure about yet, especially if there's no reviews or there's no real big news about the yo-yo just yet outside of what the brand itself is putting out there. And like I mentioned with the spin time, I'm not sure if this is a con or not. I'm going to keep playing it and see. The spin times are a little bit shorter than I expected at first, but like I said, the more I'm playing with it, the more I'm finding that the spin times are improving, so it could just be a lubed bearing that needs to be broken in a little bit more. It hasn't gone responsive or anything like that, but I feel like the more I'm playing with it, the more the bearing is drying out and the better my spin times are getting. In conclusion, I think the Hypocrisy Max L is a really fun yo-yo that I totally didn't expect to like. Not that I was expecting to dislike it, but you know, when I pulled it out, I was just like, oh, this thing is cool, huh? I wonder. I'm not sure about the shape. I don't know about bimetals, but let's see. And the more I played with it, the more I've been enjoying it. In fact, it's the only yo-yo I brought with me today. I love the color of it. I love the gold rims. I love, love, love the engraving. I like the way it feels. It's got a really nice hand feel to it, really nice catch to it. Because of the slightly organic kind of segmented shape of it, it feels really unique and comfortable. I just think it's a really fun yo-yo. So if you've got the coin and you're interested in trying out something new, something you haven't really seen before, I recommend giving the Hypocrisy Max L a try. It could be the bimetal for you. Alright, thank you boys and girls so much for watching Tokyo Yo. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave us a like, a comment, a subscription. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for helping me past 1,500 subscribers. I'm so happy that I got there in under 2 years. It's really, really amazing to me. I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's go for 2,000 next. Take care, have a nice day, and sayonara.